So the story goes like this. The person who blew the shofar blew it so loud, the chicken, the kapara's chicken, the Yom Kippur, flapped their wings. They got scared from the noise of the shofar. They flapped their wings. The candles, Hanukkah candles, blew out. And it became so dark in the sukkah that they couldn't read the Megillah. So here he has a Yom Kippur, he has a kaparas, he has the shofar blowing, he has the Hanukkah, and he has Purim. And he has Pesach and he has Sukkot. So how do you have one holiday that incorporates all the holidays today? This yontif is not just a yontif of liberation of Hasidus, but it's also a yontif that gives meaning and has connections to all the other Yom Tov. This is the only class that's it. That's what I came for. Not that you're not that special, but
I took off work for today, so.
I know. But I have
Want me to call the girls?
I have a. Are they in the other class by any chance?
Want me to go and like, just tell me started?
I think they know. Are they in the other class by any chance?
There's another class going on,
Right, I think they're in that class.
but I
tore a muscle, that's why I'm in a lot of pain. So if they're not that, if they're in that class, I don't want to take them out. If they happen to be running around, then
doing exactly.
hmm? No.
One thing, Mrs. Nancy's class, they're level one, literally everyone. Like us too. You comfortable giving the class?
I'm uncomfortable, just I came out in a lot of pain. I came for class, not for.
You wanna not give it, like?
No, I'm here. Once I'm here, already, might as well give it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to just let you know something very important. What the Alter Rebbe said: whoever participates in Yud Tes Kislev, we call this a Fabrengen, will be taken out from any, if a person has limitation, even if the person is doing very well in his life, materially, spiritually, that person will have his life change, his or her life change drastically, even if they're already having all they want in life. There's always room for improvement. That's if a person is happy. Number two, if a person is very into the material world, materialistic, I guarantee you that that person will become much more spiritual if you are present at a Fabrengen, at a Yud Tes Kislev Fabrengen. Number three, a person who is in Gehenna, meaning who's really down in the dumps, morally, spiritually, materially, in every sense of the meaning. A person is really down at the borderline of not wanting to live anymore. That person is out of a Fabrengen. He just kissed the Fabrengen in honor of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe promises this person will be taken out of his personal Gehenna, you know what that is, and have a new life. So no matter how great you think your life is, you belong out of Fabrengen. No matter how dismal you think life is, Fabrengen can help you. The words of the Alter Rebbe himself, so it's pretty powerful. I remember giving a shir in Seagate for the boys. And for the first time, I decided to learn Tanya with them. After about a week or two of learning Tanya, I had a dream. The Alter Rebbe appeared to me in my dream. Wow. He was wearing a yarmulke, wasn't wearing his hat. Walked in, and he was giving a shir, Tanya shir. And I was sitting there, and when I got to me, he went, as if, thank you. Pretty wonderful dream I had. So the Alter Rebbe doesn't remain in debt, he pays back. And a shir, whether it's a shir or a Fabrengen, I guess a Fabrengen is very special, but a shir is also special. We're going to soon talk about the Alter Rebbe and the whole story of what happened, why was he in prison, Before we get there, I want to just mention something about the Tanya. The Tanya has other names to it. Anyone know the names?
Like the whole Tanya?
Mainly the first part, the first 53 chapters, right? Which means what?
Collection of sayings or something?
Which is very humble, collection of sayings, as if he's not saying anything from his own. He meant sayings that I heard from my teachers, which was about Shem Tov and the Maggid, and from the Maharal in Prague and the Shalah. These are two great, they lived much before the Baal Shem Tov. Maharal and the Shalah lived about 400 years ago.
Oh, so all of this came from those four
Yeah.
people?
So he said it's based on those four people, the Maharal, the Yeshaya Horowitz, who wrote the Sefer Shalah, Shin Lamed H, Shnei Luchot Abrit, name of the Sefer. Yeshaya Horowitz, he lived about 450 years ago. There are Maharal, who lived even earlier, generation earlier. And then his Rebbe, his teachers, are his Baal Shem Tov and the Alter and the Maggid. These are his teachers. Now, I want to let you know, 800 years ago, there lived a very holy person amongst the Balei HaTosfos. The Tosfos are those that often argue with Rashi. Some of them are Rashi's grandchildren or great nephews. One of them, who lived about 150 years after Rashi, so great, says his name was Rabbi I think Yehuda Courville. He lived in France, city of Courville, and he writes, I think it's France, and he writes, he would ask questions to Hashem. He wrote a sefer called Shalot Uchuvot Min Hashemayim, questions and responses I got from heaven. He does not give a date to any of the questions that he wrote. He doesn't give any dates, except for one or two where he writes the date, the day of the year where he asked this question, and where he got the answer from on high. He got the answer in his sleep. He went to sleep with a question mark, and he wrote, I hope I get an answer. And he got an answer and woke up with an answer and put it in writing. I've never seen the Sefer. I have not seen the Sefer, never saw the Sefer, but this is famous. It's called Shiloh, the Chuvot, questions and answers from heaven. There's one particular question which deals with an issue of a person becoming ritually impure. I'm not going to get into what the question was is not really relevant. Yeah, I had a question about the laws of impurity, whether a person could daven if they were ritually impure or not. And in that question mark, whatever the question was, he writes, I got an answer on Yud Tes Kislev, a day of good tidings to the Jewish people. What 800 years ago, Yud Tes Kislev was nothing, just another day in the calendar. So it's quite clear that even though he lived 800 years ago, way before the Alter Rebbe, he called this day a day of Besura, of good news for the Jewish people. Yom Besura. Not only that, even though there are two other places where he writes the date, but this time he wrote the date and the day of the week. You just Kislev on a Tuesday, like today. Today is Tuesday. What's special about just Kislev on a Tuesday? Because with the Alter Rebbe, when it happened on a Tuesday. The Alter Rebbe was saying the Tilim, Tada b'Shalom Nafshi. As he was saying those words, he got the news that he's free. Tada, redeeming, liberate me in peace.
Oh, he was saying that when he was
right while he was saying the Kapitel Tilim. Now, this Kapitel Tilim is only said on a Tuesday. It's only said if you divide the Tilim in 7. Our Chitas, we divide it in. We finish the Tilim in a month. But some people finish the whole Tilim in a week. And where there's problems in your life, many people add, and they don't only say, a few chapters of Tilim a day, they say about 10 or 15 a day. And they end up in 7 days, in a full week, they end up finishing the Tilim. So Tuesday, if you do that, if you go by the day of the week, Tuesday's portion of the Tilim has the words, chapter 55, Kapitel Nun Hey, chapter 55, Pada B'Shalom Nafshi, the whole song is in that chapter. So the Alter Rebbe was saying those words, because it was Tuesday, and he was saying much more Tilim. As he said those words, before he had a chance to say the next pasuk, he was told, you're free man. Because the next pasuk talks about severity, punishments for those that hurt him. He did not want anything negative. He only wanted the liberation. He wanted all his opponents to become transformed. That's the idea of Chassidus, not to destroy the enemy, because if you destroy the enemy, you didn't really win the war. The total victory is when the enemy now becomes an ally and a friend. If the enemy was not here because it was destroyed or scared to death or afraid to attack you, you never know what's going to happen later. It can be an uprising. But when the enemy is transformed, when your enemies become friends, then you know for sure that the enemy then you know that your liberation and your success and your victory is complete. That's what the Alter Rebbe wanted. He did not want, he could have done a lot of things. He could have gone out of prison without having any trouble. He could have just said some magical words and the whole prison cell would burn out. So on the other side, why don't you just do that? I want to be in the world. I want it to go through nature, the natural means. And I want my liberation to go through natural means. And I want the enemy to realize the greatness of Judaism and especially Hasidus. And of course they did. You know, the story when the Alter Rebbe was in prison. You know, I'm sure you heard the story, but I'll say it's Kedai to say it anyways. He was there in 53 days in prison. 53 special why?
53 fragment of Tanya.
And 53 parshas of the week. There are also 53 sedras.
Oh, I don't know that.
One of the reasons why Torah B'Ksav. One of the reasons why Torah, now we have a Mezuman here.
Oh.
The vice sign of El Learning.
3 people. 1, 2, 3 girls.
One of the reasons why Tanya is called the written Torah of Chassidus, called the written Torah, not only because it's the basis, it's the yesod of all the other Maimorim that will be said later about the other Rebbes. It's much more than that. It's very similar to Chumash. You know, the Alter Rebbe worked 6 weeks. Every letter, not only every letter, he thought. It took him 20 years to write the Tanya. Every letter was punctuality, was precise. The Alter Rebbe said, I have thought 3 weeks whether I should put a vav in or not put a vav in. This is in chapter 41, where it says, Reishis ha'avoida, the beginning of our avoida, ve'ikra, and its primary source, visharsha, and its root is fear of God. So he wasn't sure whether I should put, should I write the beginning of one's avoda, ve'ikra, and its primary, should I write and its primary or just the primary? Doesn't make any difference. But every letter he thought it out, and it turned out he said, even though I worked on it 3 weeks, I need another 3 weeks. And after 6 weeks of pondering, yes, no, yes, should I put the vav in, not put the vav in? He decided to put the vav in. So the letters of Tanya are incredibly precise. Just like in the Torah, Sefer Torah, if one letter is missing or even not written right, or touching another letter, the whole Sefer Torah is puzzled. If it's in Gemara or in Shulchan Aruch, the letter is the words are not so important. It's the idea. So if a person has no understanding of what he's reading, you're reading Chumash and you don't know a word of what you're saying. You just know how to read. You know Aleph Beis. You don't know a word you're saying. Fine. You're Yod Tes, the mitzvah of learning Torah, just by reading the words. Had this been a Gemara or any other part of the oral law, Shulchan Aruch, Gemara, Talmud, whatever, Mishnah, and you don't understand what you're saying, it's worthless. I mean, maybe not worth, but it doesn't, you do not fulfill the mitzvah of learning Torah because you don't understand what you're learning. But in Torah B'Ksav, in the written law, the letters themselves are magical. And just by repeating those words, person gains a tremendous amount of holiness and you fulfill the mitzvah. Yeah.
This is a question, but did the Alter Rebbe himself write, like, physically write the Tanya?
Yes. You know, this is,
Oh, okay. And then somebody reprinted it?
yeah. Story about the reprinting,
Right.
it was forged, still telling you. Forged with a lot of forgeries that came about. Those that opposed the Alter Rebbe made the Tanya sound like a book of heresy, apicursis. They put words and they changed the words around. And that's one of the reasons why the Alter Rebbe wanted it to be printed, so that no more mistakes, no more. It's a long story about this, but I don't want to focus on that now. So let's go back to the parallel between Tanya and a Chumash. There's a story with the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third of Alter Rebbe, when he was 10 years old, decided He wants to put holes in the Tanya, and also puts periods, chapters, and he wasn't sure whether he should do it or not. But in his dream, he dreamt that a Sefer Torah that has vowels, it doesn't. But what happens if a Sefer Torah would have vowels?
Puzzle.
So he had a dream that it's kosher
Oh, wow.
in his dream. Therefore, he was about to decide, if that's the case, then I could also put vowels in a Tanya. He considered a Tanya to be the same as a Sefer Torah. The Alter Rebbe, he had a yichud with the Alter Rebbe for some reason. Doesn't say what the reason was. And as he was about to leave the Alter Rebbe's yichudus room, the Alter Rebbe tells him, a Sefer Torah that has vowels is puzzle, out of the blue. He began to realize the Alter Rebbe sensed his thoughts, read his thoughts, and he was convinced that just like in a Sefer Torah, it's puzzle, a Tanya is not allowed to have vowels either. There's another story with the Tzemach Tzedek when he was 11 years old.
That's different.
That's different.
Okay.
Tanya that you printed Tanya officially should not have vowel. And it's put, yeah, Chayyin is probably different.
But the
Today-
English lessons in Tanya has vowels.
It's not.
Yeah,
about
that's not a Tanya, it's English, it's English translation. When he was 11 years old, Tzemach Tzedek, as an 11-year-old kid, the first year after the Yud Tes Kislev holiday, the first anniversary of Yud Tes Kislev, 1 year after it happened, Tzemach Tzedek was elated. You know, sometimes it takes a year. You don't establish a holiday until you see if you still feel the holiday the next year, then you know it's real. So when they found out that people are so joyous, it was like Simchas Torah. So he decided, let's have a Simchas Torah with a Tanya. And let's sing, well, the Atar Haresa, the Atar Haresa, let's open our Kodesh, and just have the Sefer Torahs open, and we're going to call people around, go around the Bima, the Tanya. And he made a whole program. And when the Alter Rebbe's brother heard what the Tzemach Tzedek did, he told the Alter Rebbe, you know what your grandson did, your beloved grandson? He made hakafos with the Tanya. Alter Rebbe smiled. Alter Rebbe said he had a tremendous amount of nachas. Said he will be zocher to go ahead and explore the oral law of Hasidus, which of course he did. It's interesting to note that not only is the number 53 days in jail, 53 chapters of Tanya, the first volume, first part of Tanya, 53 sedras in Chumash, but it's more than that. If you take a look and you look into it, you will see that the Parakim in Tanya correspond to the Sedra. For example, the introduction to Tanya also counts. Over.
No, it's not.
Introduction to Tanya counts also as a chapter. So if you look at the first chapter of Tanya, which is really the first chapter of Tanya is after the introduction, so it's like section 2, corresponds to Parshas Noach. I don't know, what's Noach? Noach is a non-Jew. So the first chapter in Tanya talks about the Nefesh Bahamis. It talks about non-Jews, what non-Jews have. At the end of chapter 1, it discusses the Nefesh Lakis, in short. The end of Parshas Noach, who's born? Avraham Avinu. Lech Lecha is all about Avraham Avinu. Chapter 2 in Tanya is all about the Nefesh Lakis. If you go along through I have a sefer at home which shows how each chapter of Tanya fits with the number of the parsha. So it's Lech Lecha Lech Lecha would be chapter 2, Vayera chapter 3, and so on and so forth.
What's the sefer called? What's the sefer called, correlates?
I can't remember. It's in English. Yeah, I have to look it up. I can't remember the name. Bought a long time ago.
Did the Alter Rebbe do that intentionally?
No, that's the Chiddush.
Wow.
Alter Rebbe did not have this in mind. 53, but because he's such a holy person, Hashem made whatever he would do, it would fit in.
Wow.
Ruach HaKodesh speaks through people that are that great. He did not have this in mind. That makes it even greater in a way.
We're sure, we know that for sure?
That's what it says here.
Oh.
This book says it. Alter Rebbe himself made it clear that he did not have this in mind.
Oh, wow.
Now there are 11 parshiot, 11 sedras, Only 11 out of the 53 that do not start with above. There are 11 chapters in Tanya that do not start with above. Another parallel. The Alter Rebbe was going to write another sefer called Sefer Shel Tzadikim. This is called Sefer. By the way, the Kuti Amorim, Sefer Shel Beinim, the Alter Rebbe wrote another sefer for Tzadikim. But it was when the Shpola Zayde, who was a very close friend of the Alter Rebbe, saw the sefer, he said, it's too holy, let no one see it, it shouldn't be, and it shall be burnt, and I will go up in fire with that sefer. These were his words. Well, that Shpola Zayde passed away on the 6th day of Tishrei, the same year the Alter Rebbe passed away, a few months before, and there was a fire. Alter Rebbe did not burn it, but a fire in his house, and that sefer caught fire, got burnt, together with the passing of that great tzaddik, which Shpola Zayde. Shpola Zayde said, I will go up in fire with it, and he did. That day he passed away, his soul, this fire on Neshama, is like age fire. His soul went up with the fire of that holy sefer. The Alter Rebbe, of course, told everyone, made it clear, even before it was burnt, no one dare look into the sefer. After it was burnt, the Alter Rebbe asked his son, the Mittel Rebbe, did you look into the sefer? You said I shouldn't. You warned people. Where's your Mesiras Nefesh for Chassidus? So he admonished the Mittel Rebbe, even though I said you shouldn't, you should not have listened to me. You should have Mesiras Nefesh to show that you can't bear not looking into it. But we don't know what it says there. We know it's pretty holy. Tanya itself is pretty holy. That's Sefer Shel Beinim, this is Sefer Shel Tzadikim.
So he wrote it and then he changed his mind about.
He wrote it?
Reviewing it?
Yeah, after he heard from Shpola Zayde with another holy person that it's too holy, the world can't take it. Well, if ever had enough problems with Tanya, there was a tremendous, which one of them talk about, the kitru, the prosecution on high. Nothing happens down here if it's not happening upstairs by tzaddikim. The only reason why the non-Jews had the power to put him in prison is because up there they decided he has no right to do what he did. And he's freed. You know why he was freed? Because the ability to liberate Tanya, to liberate Chassidus was freed, given the permission. So down here it works accordingly. The Alter Rebbe he started the Tanya in the year 5532, and he used to say it orally. Throughout the years, he would say Tanya orally. He concluded, actually 22, I'm sorry, he started the Tanya in the writing of the Tanya, preparing a Tanya in 5536, I think, and finished it in 5556. In 5554, that was when he concluded all the shiurim, oral classes of Tanya. First, he went through the first 30 chapters, and the next 13, and then the rest. And here's the story, which you have more complete. The story of the crown jewel, but it's more complete than that. You probably did not hear the whole story. Story goes that the Magi was asleep. He had 3 of his students next to him. And one of them was Pinchas Koretz. So the Pinchas Koretz was visiting the Maggid. The Maggid called in 3 of his students, Rabbi Yehuda Leib, Rabbi Zusha, and the Alter Rebbe. He asked me to tell him exactly what occurred while he was asleep. I told him that Rabbi Pinchas was very unhappy with the fact that Chassidus is being thrown around. A piece of writing of Chassidus that was blown by the wind, and it fell into mud and it got dirty. People started stepping over it. In fact, he quoted a pasuk from Lamentations from Ezra, how holy stones, the Beis Hamikdash, are being trampled on, stepped on, disrespected. How can you reveal Chassidus and allow this to happen? He was against the Alter Rebbe. The Koretz was not happy with the Alter Rebbe's shita of spreading Chassidus. He wasn't a Masnagid, but he felt that it's so holy, so pure, so precious, the world doesn't deserve to have it. So the Alter Rebbe said, wait a second. Don't jump to conclusions. The Alter Rebbe said the following. But when I noticed he was so upset, I told him the following parable. There was once an extremely powerful king. This powerful king sent his child on a mission to go far away to learn and become, mature enough to find the hidden powers and remedies of different plants and animals and to hunt wild and to go to dangerous places and grow by going away from the king's palace. It's very easy to be very special when you're the son of the king. The prince is sent out abroad for a test to see how loyal you can be when you go far away from the king's palace. One day the king hears that the prince is very sick and he's very ill. And he's on he's on an island, a very distant, desolate island. And the local doctors couldn't find any cure for him. The king immediately ordered an announcement to all the great doctors and medical, big shots to try to find a charm. If they can't find a medical, a zgula, a kamea, it's called an amulet or a charm to heal his son. If no medical thing works, try a charm. Anybody know anything? No one answered. One day, to the king's great relief and consolation, an individual said, yes, there is a remedy. A precious stone, you have to break the stone into tiny little pieces, and when the stone is crushed, you mix it with wine and with certain powders, and if a prince would even drink a small amount of it, droplets would get into his mouth, it would cure him. So of course, when the king heard that, he gathered all his men who understood the nature of precious stones, and as upon looking for it, the famous marshal, as they were looking for which stone would fit, it was a stone that was in the crown jewel of the king's crown. That's the only stone that they knew that they could find of that nature. And they were sure that even though it has therapeutic power and could heal the prince, now that we found it to the king's royal crown, the king is never going to accept this. Not going to throw away his kingdom. So obviously what's going to happen is he's going to say, try to find a different stone. But when the king, on the other hand, heard that the wondrous stone was found, he was euphoric and he commanded that he immediately take it and grind it. He couldn't care less about the value of his crown. Then a message came and said, you know what, it's gotten worse. He's much more ill than before. Even if you crush the stone and you try to put it into his mouth doesn't open. Probably 99% sure that nothing will get in. And if anything, it's only a droplet, and there's a very big doubt if even a tipa kana will ever enter his mouth. You're wasting the stone, you're destroying the king's crown to no avail. And the prince is still sick and will probably die. The king still said, they were to be shocked of his advisors. I don't care. What good is my crown? If my son doesn't live, my crown is worth nothing. There's a 1% chance that a droplet will get in. I don't care if most of it goes to waste. And of course, you understand the parable that Hasidus is the crown jewel, Hashem's crown jewel. It's very holy, very special. But if the Jewish people who are in a stage of sickness, we were sent on, the we're sent down to this world, and we have a very materialistic world. And in this world, it's very easy to get caught up with all the materialism and lose our interest in anything that's holy. So if a droplet can get in, a tiny drop of this wonderful potion called chassidus can get into the mouth, get into the hearts of the Jewish people, it's worth it. But without the Jewish people, who needs chassidus? Without the Jews, Torah is here for us, not here for itself. Torah always existed. It's here for the Jewish people as they are embodied in a human body with human relations, with an animal soul, with all the problems that animal soul caused. So they were shocked, but yet that's what the king wanted. And of course, the parable is understood, and this is what the Alter Rebbe said to answer Pinchas Koritz's complaint. Pinchas Koritz was not a Chabad, was a contemporary, was a Chabra of the Alter Rebbe, a student of the Maggid, but not on the Alter Rebbe's side. But when he heard this, he was like, wow, beautiful mashal. Well, when the Maggid heard that while he was asleep, the Pinchas Koritz complained and the Alter Rebbe responded with a crown jewel parable, he was extremely happy. And he just said, you know what? It was when I was asleep, there was a very strong accusation against me because of my revealing chassidus. But thanks to my dear student, the Alter Rebbe, the accusation was removed. Now the obvious question comes, if that's the case, why in the world was the Alter Rebbe in prison? Didn't the Alter Rebbe give a mashal to save the Jewish people, worthwhile to have Chassidus revealed? And why was there an accusation up there in heaven? He's revealing the teachings of Chassidus. He himself was the one to annul the evil decree against the Maggid. Why would there be a decree against him? The question like that, but the Rebbe asks in the Sikha. So the answer to that question is, what's the answer to the question? It depends what type of Chassidus you're revealing. What the Alter Rebbe's muscle was good for is if you just get droplets, like tidbits, words, holy, warm felt words, without going into great detail. Don't try to explain it. Don't try to give parables and metaphors and allegories and all kinds of misholim and dugmaot. Just give one sentence, which is the equivalent of a droplet of the king's grounded crown. So with the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov, if you look at the Maggid's teaching, you'll see that the teachings are very short, very brief. Warm words that talk to the neshama, but don't talk to your mind. Because the mind really doesn't understand. It just says, wow. It wows you and it wakes you up from your slumber and sleep. And the Jewish people needed that because they were dying. Don't forget, before the Baal Shem Tov, we had the Shabtai Tzvi era. We had the Chalmanitsky, Tach V'Tat, 1648, 1649, pogroms that killed tens of thousands of Jews, murdered, butchered. And then you have the false Messiah, false Mashiach, the Shabtai Tzvi. Jews had hope. Maybe this is it. And then we find out that he went crazy and he converted to Islam. So there was a letdown, and the Jewish people were at a stage where they were about to lose connection to Yiddishkeit altogether. Give up. Knowing in despair, spiritual suicide. And the Baal Shem Tov, what was his name? Yisrael. You know, when you call a person by their name, it says one of the ways of waking a person from a stage of faint, when a person has fainted, one of the ways to revive that person is by calling that person by the name. I saw that myself once. A guy fainted in the mikvah. And they called him by his name 3 times. Nothing helped. They gave him all the salt, the water poured on, but helped. It went like that. A name has a power. A name is like a base yard, a handle. A handle, even though the handle is not part of the utensil, you have a pot, we have a handle. With the handle, you hold the whole pot. You can pick the pot up and put it down. So it says the name of a person, even though it's not the neshama itself, is a handle, and it could move the neshama. It can move, it can affect the neshama. That's why it says a name. The person is very, very sick. You add a name. Adding a name is adding another type of handle to the soul, which might give the soul more life, give the person a new life. The name is actually a pipeline to connect the neshama with the body. It's not the neshama itself. It's a conduit to draw the soul into a body. Everyone has a different roadway for their souls to go into different bodies. That's why people have different names. But you have people with the same name, and they're as different as night from day. You have people that have the same name. Now, a lot of people have the name Moshe, or Yosef, or Menachem Mendel, or Chaim Mushka, and the 2 Chaim Mushkas, and they're not alike. 2 Menachem Mendels are not alike. Why? Because the name is not the soul. The name is the roadway that this person needs. So this person might need, who's neshama, might need the same roadway as another person, but doesn't mean they're the same person. It can be very, very different. They just use the same channels. A name is a channel, which, by the way, is the reason why a soul, before it comes down into a body, has no name. Angels have names, even when they're up in heaven. Why? Because angels have bodies too. They're spiritual bodies, but they have bodies. A soul, a neshama, is so abstract from any form, doesn't even have a spiritual body. By us, we don't understand the difference of a spiritual body. How is a spiritual body different than a soul? We contemplate bodies by what we see. But there's a spirit. Angels have a spiritual body made out of the element of fire and wind and air, not of earth and water. So they have different kind of body, but they have a spiritual body, relatively spiritual body, and therefore angels also need names to attach their soul with their body. Souls in Shamayim don't have bodies, so there's no need for a name. When the Shama comes down Lamato, then it has a name. What's the name of the Baal Shem Tov? Yisrael. That's the name of all Jews. We're all Yisrael. Bas Yisrael, Ben Yisrael. So by having the Baal Shem Tov coming down, his neshama came down and revealed whatever he revealed, he revived the fainted Jews, those Jews who were fainting in their Yiddishkeit and felt like it's over. Life is over for us. We have no need to worry. The Mashiach will never come, and we'll always have pogroms. It's never going to end. So his neshama revived the Jewish people. But what was missing was he didn't explain his things. He didn't bring it down to logic, intellect. The Alter Rebbe had what we call a new soul. You know what a new soul is? Let's discuss that. People think a new soul is a soul that never came down to this world, because most neshamas have been here before. I was here before. All of you were here before. Would you like to know what you were before? Mm-hmm. I think it's more scary to find out who you are now. The Arizal would be able to look at you and tell you who you were 100 years ago, who you were maybe 500 years ago. You might have come down, and a shaman can come down as many as six times. That's the maximum, not more. But almost 99% of all the neshamas are not new. They've been here before. But the Alter Rebbe says a new soul is not just a person whose soul never came down. That's true also, but it means much more than that. It's so new that it was even new relative to the even new up there. It's a soul that is not included in the neshamot of Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon was a neshamat klaliyit. His neshama incorporates all the souls of all the Jewish people throughout history. 1 second. But there's several souls that are very few. You can count them on your fingers. The Alter Rebbe was one of them, whose soul is in a special compartment, not included in the soul of Adam Rishon. That's what new soul means. New even up there, not just new down here. To be able to take things that are souls, the speech of the soul, words that the neshama enjoys, that emunah enjoys, and to connect that into human logic, for that you need someone to transcend. You have to go beyond. In order to connect two opposites, you have to go beyond both. So the Alter Rebbe reached such a level of depth, he was able to connect that which seems to be super rational, not normal, not understandable, and made that and plug that into our brains. This was the Alter Rebbe's accomplishment. What do you want to ask?
Didn't he have the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu?
That's not what I know. Every leader has a connection to Moshe Rabbeinu, but not the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu. He's called every leader it's like the extension of Moshe of that generation. Doesn't mean he had Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama in him, and even if he did, doesn't mean that it could be a soul was inside a soul. That doesn't mean that was his only. He had his own neshama. He had Moshe Rabbeinu's energy in him as well, but not that his neshama he wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu reincarnated.
Right, but
he was the Alter Rebbe had his own yichus.
So how does it work with all the leaders of the generations? They just have some connection.
They have this energy of Moshe. They have the extension of Moshe within them. Not Moshe's soul is reincarnated in them, and it's just Moshe Rabbeinu over again. The Pashtus, it means they have their own soul, their own chayis, but they have also an additional energy coming from Moshe Rabbeinu too, which gives them the power to be leaders. It's not easy to lead the Jewish people, especially to lead leaders. People who think they are leaders themselves. It's very hard to unite. Like the Rebbe has Hasidim that are two opposites. I don't know, you're too young to know this, but I grew up, but there were a tremendous amount of fights going on between them. They didn't get along with each other.
Like Chabad?
Yeah, among Chabad, there were always friction, different views, couldn't get along, and yet when the Rebbe was there, but the Rebbe was everyone. The Rebbe, it's all what the Rebbe wants. The Rebbe united. When the Rebbe Farbrengen, all these people would never sit in one room. When it came to Farbrengen, they would sit in one. Of course, they would all be sitting together. So the Rebbe had the ability to lead. Every Rebbe has that power to be able to figure out what's going on in everyone's mind, understand every single Jew. A person who could relate to every single Yid, man, woman, child, old, young, middle age, that's a Rebbe. Someone who's only a great man, but he can't relate to his people, to all of his people, maybe only some of his people, some better, some not a Rebbe.
Was that
I'd be
every
a
Rebbe?
Huh?
Was that every Rebbe that was able to?
Of course. Stories galore about how they understood. They understood you better than you understood yourself. Because the brain, Rebbe is like a Rosh B'nai Yisrael, the brain understands everything. So again, going back to the Alter Rebbe, why was there another prosecution against the Alter Rebbe? Because the Alter Rebbe did not just do what Baal Shem Tov did by allowing a droplet just to save the king's life. That's saving lives. But what happens if you don't need to anymore? You have the drop already. You have enough inspiration to keep you going in your Yiddishkeit. Who gave you permission? Who gave the Alter Rebbe permission to elaborate on these concepts and make it understandable and give metaphors and allegories, and people should not only live by Chassidus, but should enjoy it and it's like a luxury. To make Chassidus into a luxury? It's a necessity, yes. But if you want to have a luxury, the world's not ready for this yet. The world's not ready to enjoy the secrets of Torah and to understand them. It's enough just to take a droplets with the Alter. That's what the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe and the Maggid did. Tidbits, small words, enough to awaken you, enough to keep you awake. And the Alter Rebbe started explaining things and making it intellectually understandable and relatable. And that's what the second prosecution was all about. But once the Alter Rebbe was in prison, he already went through Mesiras Nefesh, and he had the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid visiting him, by the way. He said, I had visitors every single day during davening. They daven with me, whatever that means. I don't know how to explain that. But they were with him. And it seems like they were there Begashmias, not just Beruchnias. Because he said the amount of room in the room. Alter Rebbe actually said that they showed how big the room was, the cell when he was in, and there's enough room for 2 more people. Now, if they're here Beruchnias, you don't need room, you don't need space. That means that the Alter Rebbe actually witnessed the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid Begashmias in his cell. Does that mean the warden who would go by would see it? Probably not. Not everything that's in this physical world you can notice. It's hard to understand. This is very difficult to understand. They were there, but you couldn't see them. If you had the Alter Rebbe's eyes, you could see them physically.
So it's not like it was amazing, but
It's more than, it's not Chesa Mason. I don't know if it's Chesa Mason or not, but because Tzaddikim can have more than one body to come into. It sounds very spooky. I'll tell you a story that in 1973, during Simchas Torah HaKafis, the Rebbe was dancing with his brother-in-law. And all of a sudden, someone noticed that the Rebbe's brother-in-law was starting to cry. Simchas Torah cried. We asked him, what happened? Why did you cry? He said that the reason why I cried was I saw the Rebbe's joy was so incredible, the Rebbe's intensity. I just was, I was wishing I could have the same intensity. The Rebbe looks back at me and he says, you know who's dancing with us right now? The Shver, our father-in-law. So he started crying when he heard that. So the Rebbe said, you want to see him? Yeah. And he said, I saw him. Now the Rashag was a very learned man, but he wasn't, a Rebbe or anything near that. He actually saw the previous Rebbe. So in other words, it's hard to understand this. Tzaddikim have the power to be here physically and not be seen. Rashi had that power, by the way. Rashi, when he was put into danger, disappeared in the eyes of the person who was about to hurt him. When that person saw how Rashi disappeared, but his voice was still there, he was still talking. He got so scared, he said, believe me, I won't attack you. I respect you, I won't attack you. So it's great that we don't understand how great tzaddikim are. They have special powers. Famous story of Rashi. Anyways, so the reason why there was this kitruk is because Chassidus has a new dimension where it's not only subject to faith, to being inspirationally warm and warming up your soul and fitting into the part of the neshama that believes quickly, but rather Chassidus can also be intelligent, can also be intellectually understood. That's the greatness of the Alter Rebbe. Why we call Chabad? Why you're Chabad Chassid? Chabad doesn't mean based on intellect. It means that you were so far removed from any limitation that we can take things that are super rational and make them into and rationalize them. So to take 2 opposites, that's something that's super rational, and rationalize it, for that you need a special neshama to do that. The souls, even the lofty souls, are either here or they're there. They're either removed or they're very much into the world. But to be in both places at once, that's something that's very unusual. to be in this world, understand this world clearly, be completely dressed into this world, and yet be simultaneously above. That's the power of a new soul. The Alter Rebbe had it. I once heard from the Rebbe's words that the Rebbe, Rebbe seemed to suggest that all Chabad Rebbeim after the Alter Rebbe also had new souls. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I think I heard once from the Rebbe's Sikha indicated that all the Chabad Rebbeim, not only the Alter Rebbe, also had Neshamot Chadashot, new souls. So how is Yud Tes Kislev connected to all the holidays? With Rosh Hashanah, we know for sure. Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. And we wish each other Lashana Tova, Tikasei v'Tikasei, or Tikasevi v'Tikasemi if you're a woman. And we also wish each other Lashana Tova, Tikasei, or Tikasevi v'Tikasemi on Yud Tes Kislev. It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus, which means it's the head of the year in terms of your success in learning and behaving like a chassid or a chassidah. You take the energy from the head of the year, which is Yud Tes Kislev. It's the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. It's also connected to Yom Kippur. How is it connected to Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur we daven 5 times. And we know that Hasidus, Chabad especially, reveals that there are 5 parts of the soul. It's called the Yechida. It reveals the Yechida within every Jew. Yechida is the part of the soul that gives the person the ability to self-sacrifice without any explanation, without any rationale whatsoever. If you ask a Jew, why are you Meiser Nefesh? He says, because how else do I have a choice? I don't want to do it. I just cannot do it. I can't abstain from not giving my life away. That's how powerful the Yechida. Yechida is the essence of the soul, the quintessence of the soul. It's the 5th level of the soul, quintessence. And that is this is connected to the day of Yom Kippur, which has 5 tefillahs. We daven 5 times. Sukkot is Simcha. Man Simcha Seinu. Simcha Seder, we just talked about Simcha Seder. The Simcha the Jews had, the Yidden had, when the Yud Tes Kislev happened, Jews were not allowed to live in the metropolis. They were not allowed to live in Moscow. And yet the Jews in Moscow who lived there illegally were openly dancing in the streets. And the miracle was nothing happened to them. Before and after, there was problems. During that actual dancing, no one got into trouble for dancing when it came to the Simcha Yud Tes Kislev. So it says, Man, and Chassidus gives us the power to be B'Simcha. It tells us who we are, how special we are, how unique an neshama is, our powers, we're ambassadors of Hashem, and that every second, the whole world is recreated every single second, so don't worry about what happened yesterday, it's a new world. And Chassidus fortifies us with simcha, with joy. Chassidim are always happy. Those that are against Chassidim are usually more melancholy, more down. Chassidus brings a person, a Chassid is by nature a happy person. Because when you're both, when you know it's not me, I'm just here as serving as an extension of Hashem, and that's so what do you don't get sad when you're missing something, because who am I? Who said I deserve it? You're happy with your lot. So therefore it's connected to Sukkot and Simchas Seder. Hanukkah, how is Hanukkah and Yud Tes Kislev connected? There are two simple explanations. One is the Hanukkah lich is supposed to be lit outside to illuminate the darkness of the outside world. And what is this Chassidus? Yafutzu ma'ayin hasefer, let your wellsprings spread to the outside world. But moreover, oil is a metaphor for Chassidus. Why is oil a metaphor for Chassidus? Oil is used on Hanukkah. The whole miracle happened with oil. And oil is also a metaphor for Chassidus for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is oil has 2 opposite characteristics. It rises above all liquids, and it saturates. When it comes to solids, anything that is oily, for example, if a piece of meat that has a lot of gravy, oily, will become treif much faster than if it's a dry piece. So because oil causes saturation, penetration. So Chassidus on the one hand is like oil, it swims over all liquids, doesn't mingle, but yet it saturates all solids. And that means it's a mushal for Chassidus on the one hand is a subject that is as you try to understand it, you realize I can't understand it. It's elusive. You begin to understand how it's beyond your level of intellect. Second, but on the other hand, it has everything to do with your life. It saturates every part of your life. There's nothing that you do in life that Siddur has no say about. Siddur talks about everything under the sun. So it penetrates every part of your life. But what is it? Something that seems to be not mixing. It doesn't mingle with other subjects very well. It's something that's extremely above and beyond, yet that above and beyond force seems to saturate and penetrate every part of our life. One of the reasons. Purim, well, Purim was a miracle that happened through nature, and the same Achashverosh, who decreed against us, was the one to remove the decree and to help us at the end of the story. Same thing Yud Tes Kislev, that it was a day where the Alter Rebbe, where the enemies of the Alter Rebbe, the ones that put him into prison, were the ones to realize that he's a very special holy man and they liberated him willingly. So it's very similar to the type of miracle of Purim. You know the story with this chassid, the Ayeka story? What's the story?
With the chassid.
No, with not the
The minister?
The minister. He wanted to see, he heard about the Alter Rebbe, he wanted to see how smart he is. So he asked him, why did Hashem ask Adam Rishon, Ayeka, where are you? Did you know whether he knew where Adam was? Why did he ask, where are you? And Alter Rebbe gave Rashi's answer. What's Rashi's answer?
To start a conversation.
Start a conversation, shouldn't scare him. I know Rashi. I know about Rashi. I want to hear what you have to say. Alter Rebbe asked, do you believe in divine providence? You believe in God, right? You believe in divine providence? Yes. Okay, then I'll give you my answer. God asks every single person. He asked Adam Rishon, where are you in your life? Where are you in terms of fulfilling your whole mission, why you're here, why you're on in this world? Hashem asks every Jew, according to his capabilities, where are you holding in terms of fulfilling your reason why Hashem made you? Are you getting close? Are you there? Or are you abandoning your whole purpose in life? Ayeka, where are you? My brother once connected Rashi's interpretation with the Alter Rebbe's interpretation. Rashi's interpretation is he didn't want to scare him, right? He didn't want to give him Musa right away. There's two types of Ayeka. Hashem could say, where are you? Shame on you. No. I trust you. I believe in you. Where are you? You're so great. You're so powerful. Where are you? Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? I expect much more of you. One of the ways of good chinuch, a teacher that tells a kid, that admonishes a kid by saying, better than that. Kid will get much more, will get much more, yes, than if you tell him off. You're terrible. Why are you doing such terrible things? Making him feel like he's good for nothing. So that will reinforce his belief that he's not worth anything. Why should I even try? You tell the child, you're so much better than that. I expect much more than that from you. You? The kid is given, no, he's rebuked, but he likes that rebuke. It's a complimentary rebuke. When we were in Florida, we told the Rebbe that we chazed all a Perek Tanya Baal Peh. The Rebbe's response was, I think that's like a rich person giving the poor person's gift. So he rebuked us, but he said, you can do better than that. One Perek Tanya, that's it. You think I'm happy with that? The Rebbe was always happy about what we did, but never satisfied. Always happy, but never satisfied. We can always do more. Anyways, that's it for today, I think. Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So don't forget, attend the Farbrengen. It's Kislev, 2-day Farbrengen. Today is a 2-day holiday. Yud Tes Kislev and Chav Kislev. What happened Chav Kislev? Alfred was stuck in a Snagget's house for 3 hours. And he said, I had more pain in those 3 hours than I had. But yet, after all that, he respected and he drank the tea that the guy gave him. The Alter Rebbe was very strongly about not trying to show off. I see, who's right? We're right. Tough on you. No, don't dare. Always be even more humble. The more Hashem does you favors, the more humble you should become. not the vice versa. The closer you to Hashem, the more refined and the more humble, because in the real presence of Hashem, who am I? If you're far away, you don't see who you are. So when you have miracles happen to you, it should give you an ability to be more humble than even before, not God forbid the other way around, arrogant. So I'll ever promoted the idea of never trying to show off and try to play the game of victory. We won the game, we won, you lost. But rather and care about even your opponents and try to get them to become Hasidim. It bothered Alter Rebbe that this person was antagonizing him, harassing him. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you change the nusach? Why did you do that? There was one guy who wanted to said, I'm not a chassid of Alter Rebbe, so I can do what even though he tells us not to hit this guy, I can do it. But thank God he didn't. There was one person there who was about to attack this Misnagid. His last name was Nutkin. Nutkin, interesting name. Nutkin was the name of the chazan. It was a mistake, But you know why it happened? After 2 years before, the Tanya was not. Alter Rebbe wanted the Tanya to be printed on Yud Tes Kislev, which was the day that the Maggid passed away. So 2 years before the whole story of Yud Tes Kislev, the Tanya was late. It said Yud Tes Kislev was only ready on Chav Kislev. And then the Alter Rebbe said, man has plans and God decides what he wants to do. Chav Kislev, Chav Kislev, Chav Kislev. This is 2 years before the miracle of Yud Tes Kislev. No one understood, what does he mean by repeating Chav Kislev 3 times? But then when the Alter Rebbe was stuck in that house of the Masnagid, that was Chav Kislev already. In other words, if it had 2 years ago, if the Tanya would have been ready on Yud Tes Kislev, I would not have to go through these 3 hours of suffering. But because it was late, therefore my coming home was also late. And thus his liberation of Yud Tes Kislev really extended into Chav Kislev. So actually Masnagid caused that we should have a second day holiday.
Thank you.
Thanks to them. A lot more to talk about. I'm not feeling very great, so appreciate these some people here.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why did the Alter Rebbe decide to teach a more intellectual Hasidus?
Because part of the B'Shalom, to make peace. Alter Rebbe did not want any part of your psyche to be in conflict with Hasidus. If God does not permeate your brain, that means your brain is an enemy. So I could drug my enemy, put him to sleep. Is that what we want? We want Hashem's presence to be fit to be everywhere, that through every avenue, every nook and cranny, we can be able to see the truth. If Seichel is an enemy to the truth, it asks questions and it questions you and it puts you in doubt. It's a problem. The Pele Chassidim, who cares? Drown out the Seichel. We have something much greater than Seichel. We have the power of your soul. I once mentioned, you know why we have payas? Men have payas.
Yeah.
The hair represents little babies have long hair until they're 3. That's babies operate on higher than Seichel. That's the phone. Babies operate on Keser. The beard is Chachma, Alpi Kabbalah, and the bridge is the payas. So the other didn't have long payas. They want to just drown out, cover everything. Take the Keser and cover it up. We want to make a roadway between the brain and in other words, the intellect and the emotions of Keser. They can make peace. It's a highway, flush.
Thank you, Rabbi Greenberg.
You're welcome. How are you? Great.
Thank you, Yom Tov.
I'll sleep. I was listening, but I thought.